Hi guys, my name is Andrew and welcome to Science Talks. Let me start from a question. Have you ever played some mind games? Or did you have doubts that the decision you are making is good for you, but it's gonna be wrong for everyone else? If you think you've never done anything like that, I would say don't be so sure about it, quickly say no. What if I tell you that we play mind games almost every day without realizing it? Maybe you wanna play one today before watching this video. In this episode, you will find out what is game theory and why we always play mind games, what is prisoner's dilemma and how it's used in marketing, why optimal strategy is not always the best one for you, and how our psychology fools us to make irrational decisions. Let's start from mind games. So what are those mind games? The term mind games typically refers to tactics and strategies individuals use to influence thoughts or emotions of others. Those tactics often involve subtle, non-physical forms of manipulation aimed at achieving a specific outcome or advantage. Mind games are usually unconscious, and people don't usually recognize them and play those games without even being aware of it. But in this video, we'll be talking about some other games that are combined called as game theory. Those games are about analysis and decision making, but what those two have in common, they both involve psychology. The game theory is a branch of mathematics and economics that studies decision making in situations where outcome of one person's choices depends on choices of others. And we all know those games, we just don't know usually that they are from a game theory. We could classify those games according to certain significant features. Zero-sum and non-zero-sum games. In zero-sum games, the total benefit to all players always adds to zero, or more informally put, one benefits at the expenses of others. Poker exemplifies zero-sum game because one wins the exactly amount opponent loses. In non-zero-sum games, some outcomes have net results greater or less than zero, meaning that gain by one player does not necessarily correspond with a loss by another. Simultaneous and sequential games. Simultaneous games require that both players move simultaneously, meaning that the later players are unaware of the earlier player's actions. In sequential games, later players have some knowledge about early actions. For instance, player may know that earlier player did not perform one particular action, while doesn't know which of the remaining available actions the first player actually performed. Games with perfect and imperfect information. In games of perfect information such as chess, every player knows everything about the game at all times. Poker, on the other hand, is an example of a game of imperfect information because players do not know other players' cards. So now, let's take a look at classic example of game theory, and that's the prisoner's dilemma. Two prisoners, A and B, suspected on committing robbery together. They are isolated and urged to confess. Each of them is concerned of getting the shortest possible sentence for himself. Each must decide whether to confess without knowing their partner's decision. Both prisoners, however, know the consequences of their decisions. If both of them confess, both go to jail for 5 years. If neither confesses, both go to jail for 2 years. If one confesses while other does not, the confessor goes free, and the silent one goes to jail for 10 years. From the mathematical point of view, the decision is pretty simple. Both need to stay silent and gain 2 years each, which is gonna be optimal strategy and the best net outcome. But that's where human psychology comes into play. Although A cannot be sure what B will do, he knows that he does best to confess. If B confesses, he serves 5 years instead of 10. If B stays silent, he serves no time instead of 2 years. And, as you can guess, B will reach to the same conclusion. So the dominant strategy would be that both will likely confess and go to jail for 5 years, minimizing the risk of getting the full sentence of 10 years. For the Nash equilibrium, both prisoners will choose the best option individually in such a settings. However, their decision will turn to be the worst collectively. If you think that you have to be some kind of criminal to find yourself in such a situation, well, you can spot it in many other places than prison. When you did shopping last time, have you seen something like this? 3 for the price of 2. One item costs $5 but you get 3 of them for 10. And it seems like a good deal, but you need only one item, but most likely you'll buy 3 for the price of 2. At least most people will. And this is gonna be a dominant strategy, but it's not your personal best because you needed only one item, but you already spent $10 for the items you don't really need. Was it a manipulation, or it was our conscious decision? Maybe we just like playing those games and we miss something if we don't. American writer and educator George Leonard once said, "The best games are not those in which all goes smoothly and steadily towards a certain conclusion, but those in which the outcome is always in doubt." Similarly, the geometry of life is designed to keep us at the point of maximum tension between certainty and uncertainty, order and chaos. Every important call is a close one. We really wouldn't want it any other way. Think about it and stay curious about the science. Thank you for watching this episode, and I will catch you in the next one. Goodbye.